This is Resonance, a podcast for leaders that unpacks the power of song, silence, and strategy.
We believe that great leadership begins with deep listening, not just to others, but to the still small voice within.
It's not just about being a successful leader, it's about being soulfully aligned as well.
In a world moving fast, Resonance invites you to pause and reconnect with purpose, people, and possibility.
We'll dive into some cool stories, celebrate with friends, and dig deep into the music too. 'Cause song has a way of saying what words cannot alone.
So whether you're leading a business, a team, or just trying to lead your own life with more meaning, this is Resonance.
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 All right. Guess what? It's your lucky day. You have found Resonance, the podcast. And I'm delighted to be here. My name's Randy Harrington. But with us, of course, Steve Azar. And he's not at home. He is off at another undisclosed location. Look at that. Quite beautiful. Absolutely fantastic. Looks
In the
like
dark.
Arkansas, I believe. Yes. And fantastic. And then, of course, Mike, the monk guy, Farrell, still hailing from South Dakota. Good to see you guys. It's been a couple of weeks since we've talked. Good to catch up.
Yes.
So today, we're going to jump into a topic that I think everybody has danced with if you have been a part of any organization of any size. And that is this thing that happens when you look at your email and all of a sudden you find out that you have a team building day that's coming up on like next Thursday. And you start hearing the people in your office like, oh, what is this? Oh, man. Yes, we have to do team building. Team building? What does that mean? I don't want to go do team building. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We're going to go play silly games and it's going to be a nightmare. So welcome to team building. That's our topic today, and teams in general as an organizational necessity. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It's a necessity moving forward in this Bonnie world. So, however you feel about being on a team is going to determine a lot about where you can be professionally as we move forward. That's what I'm saying. I'm just going to go ahead and get it out there. Azar, have you had any, I know you've done like team building work and gatherings for big companies like United and others. Tell me, what was that like when you pull everybody together?
I did get to, by the way, good morning, boys. Good morning. I did get to experience seeing back in the day United Airlines. I would go in and put on shows, but we met each other on the golf course. We had great conversations about a lot of other things besides music. And one of them said, he goes, my buddy Ken said, hey, why don't you come in to one of our conferences, play golf with some of the key folks, and maybe do a little storytelling. Then it led to the next morning, why don't you break the ice before we do the team building thing? So I was like sort of like getting everybody in the spirit. Like I go, why am I the guy? But I realized kind of hanging out in this process, first and foremost, the ability to break the communication gap first. Yeah. And can you get on like a playing field that is comfortable for everybody where they forget why they're there? And then they really open up. It sort of reminded me of songwriters getting together for the first time and being vulnerable to each other. It takes a second to let that person all the way in until you trust them. And so I think trust is a very important part of it as well. In my world, we don't have team building. We have team reminders. So it's almost like mini reminder building. So it's like probably a tenth of what we're talking here, where on the calendar, we get together before maybe it's been 2 months, and let's talk about everybody's job, what everybody's supposed to be doing. Do we have any complaints? Right. Anybody, sometimes things build up with certain people in a show.
You're kind of clearing the air a little bit.
It's more about clearing the air, and we do it under coffee and in the green room or wherever. And even with my resident show, each group, so front house, chef, cook, back house, everybody, my guys, production, everybody gets together and everybody comes on their own. Then we come together, takes about 30, 45 minutes, and then you're sort of refreshed and you're ready to go. And it's amazing how things run better. And you didn't even know they needed to run better. Mm-hmm. Right? So you get a little stale, and you drop balls on little things that make a big difference. So for me, I have seen the corporate side and then versus my side, and they are extremely a little different, but I think it goes all the way back to how can you set the stage to allow everybody to be able to communicate and feel good about it and relaxed about
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think you hit on a bunch of stuff there, really. Just kind of setting the ground for a team to be able to open up,
Yeah.
I think is a big, big deal. Farrell, what are you thinking?
Well, I think it's interesting as we talk about team building. One of the most important aspects is first and foremost making sure that everybody gets a seat at the table. Benedict talks about this all the time, and that you have to give everyone the opportunity to give input, to talk about what's going on. And if you don't do that, you immediately break the trust in that team. If you've got somebody that's dominating the conversation, or you've got the CEO or the president or whoever that isn't really listening to anybody, they've already made their decision. They already know what they're going to do. That breaks the trust. And when you break trust, you lose cooperation, and then all kinds of bad things start to happen. And so
That's right.
I think it's important that as you bring these teams together, you're giving everybody the opportunity and the space, the safe space, to say what they think, and to give ideas and share ideas and those kinds of things. Because if they don't have that space, then you've created a vacuum. You've really got a leader, and you've got nobody else that's on the same page. So I think that's really important. The other aspect that I see a lot in my work with teams is making sure that those individuals on their teams understand their own strengths and how they fit within the team's strengths.
it.
I do a lot of work, as you guys know, I do a lot of work with Strengths Finder, and really looking at how those individuals fit within the framework of that team to identify where they're going to be strong, and then maybe where some of the gaps are going to be as well. And I think it's really important that as teams build and grow, you make sure that as you're bringing new people into that team, they fit. They fit from a standpoint of they're filling in maybe some of the gaps that you need. They're stronger in particular areas than other members of the team. But I think that's a really important aspect of team building, is understanding that each individual has their own strengths. But if we mesh those strengths together, we create a much stronger team.
Well, and this
Yeah.
goes back to, elementary school, right? Picking teams,
Yeah.
So you're the team captain, and then everybody lines up, and Azar, I imagine you got picked pretty early on. Farrell, I bet you did too. Yeah, yeah. And I was the guy in the back who was like kicking dust
No,
around with
come
my,
on.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'd get picked first for the chess club, right? That was where I was.
That's well, hey, listen, I'd take it. I'd take you first. I'd take you
That's
first
why
for the
we're a
chess
good
club.
team, boys.
But what they're doing,
Kickball versus,
Oh.
I'd take the chess guy way more in life than the kickball guy. Just
Absolutely.
FYI.
well, but I think that what's going on when you're picking those teams is you're looking for capabilities, but you're also looking for your friends, and so you really are trying already. That sense of team culture is present, and I think that's really a good place for us to kind of start with this, is to say,
Wow, yeah.
one of the things that I get crazy about is what I would call faux or fake team building. There's nothing to me worse than corporate communication that's all about, hey, we're going to build teams. Come on, everybody, let's build a team. But there's no heart and soul and value behind it. It's really all just a way to exploit people a little bit more. It's a kind of a rah feeling that feels like, for a lot of employees, often a waste of time. And so the one thing I want to suggest at the very outset is don't waste people's time, money, and energy. Don't go buy logo shirts and believe that if everybody's wearing the same logo shirt that we're all, going to be the same. It's just not the same. So there's got to be something there from the leader. And guess what, Farrell? I bet this goes back to that vision thing you keep talking about, that grounded piece, right? I mean, connect the dots between that and the development of a team frame.
Well, I think it starts, you guys have heard me talk ad nauseum about this, but it starts with that higher purpose vision. Why are we there? What are we trying to accomplish beyond just making money or profit or market share or whatever the heck it might be? I think it's understanding what that higher purpose vision is, because that's the glue that holds them all together. And if the leader of that team hasn't got that clearly defined, it gets very difficult to find the glue to bring them all together. But if they're all on that same page, so, you think about a team building exercise, and it could be, running off into the forest and doing something and swinging on zip lines, or God only knows what else they've come up with, climbing mountains or whatever. That's all good and well. But if there isn't some purpose for it, if it doesn't connect to that higher purpose vision, then all it is activity. It really doesn't do anything. And for those that don't do the activity well, you're building resentment. And
Yeah.
so I think it's, I think it's one of those things that it's got, whatever that exercise is, whatever it is you're doing, it's got to tie into that higher purpose vision. Because if it doesn't, you're just grasping at straws. You're going to have a few people that are going to enjoy it. You're going to have a few people that are going to think it sucks. And, you're not really going to get any team building out of it whatsoever,
Yeah.
other than a t-shirt they get to take home.
Let me ask you guys something. First of all, you made me uncomfortable there because I get it. So if you bring all of these people in and you want them to climb a rock, some people aren't comfortable with climbing a rock. So
Right.
you've already set and I know what you're trying to do. Everybody's going to do this together. Well, I don't know if I agree with that. Second of all, that's to me not listening to you guys are talking about everybody's got to have a seat at the table. Well, that's not giving John Doe a seat at the table if he's got major knee issues, or hip problems. He's got to climb
so the facilitator will have some line, like I would always say, "Oh, this is challenge by choice," right? This is challenge by choice.
okay,
Right.
but you
can smell that a mile away too, can't you?
Yeah. Hey, John didn't do it. Right?
Yeah, right.
And they're talking. It's the joke in the office. Oh, you would never mind. Why would we talk to you? You didn't climb the rock.
Right.
Yeah. But I think a bigger thing is, first of all, go back. I love how you stripped it all down, Randy, and went back to the time you were picked as a first grader by your peers. And that says a lot about where we are today. I mean, it's a reminder of sort of that. And then I can remember not being picked first or second or third and going like, oh, I'm going to show them. That's a big, so in a way, it's kind of good not to be picked early because it puts a chip on your shoulder. And in life, you need a little bit of a chip on your shoulder to overachieve and do great things.
But see, that's an Azar move. You took a negative piece of information and you said, buddy, I'm going to come back at you. Whereas a lot of people don't have that natural sense of kung fu. They hear a negative thing and they go, oh, I suck. I'm a terrible person.
Yeah.
All that self-talk, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to scuffle over to the side and go take drugs and lay on the floor.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to tell you.
Or from a team perspective, it's like, well, they don't want me. I don't need to participate. They're not interested in having me along for the ride. So,
Right. You know what's funny is you can't tell me that you don't know someone in your life every, say, decade or every decade and a half that someone was not the worst in the group. And just say golf right now. The best player of all of us was the worst at one point. And he whips us up left and right. My buddy Ken, he's gotten so good. He's doing all the right things. But at one point, he was the worst in the group. Now he takes us all out. And so, and we're, how old are we now? So it took him, 35 years to be better than all of us, but he is right now. And so it's just interesting to see how it mattered to him, right? He's a president of a bank, very successful, great leader on a president of 100 boards because he's really good at it. He's a listener. He's a great listener. And he's one of my best friends in the world. We had a lot of success together in sports as teammates. And I know what he's made of, but I couldn't understand why he couldn't get over the hump of golf. And then when he finally did, I was like, oh, there he is, but he worked really hard. So along the line, musicians, I've seen musicians that did not have the talent and I was one of them. I mean, it took me a long time. I worked harder than the folks with the natural, just really, I think I was born to write, but to put it all together in song and then entertain and all this, at some point you have to do it a lot and you have to be concerned about what you're doing. Now, break it all down. You talk about teamwork. On stage, I've had bands in my lifetime, a lot. Now, it's been a long time because at some point I was able to really pick and choose, not choose and pick me, right? I had no choices when I grew up in a certain area. And there was always a link or two, but you would always be concerned about that bass player missing that line or that drummer missing that beat or that guitar player missing that lick. And you have that on your mind, like, why can I remember their stuff and they can't remember it? And it was because they didn't care.
Yeah.
They didn't care about everybody. And so at some point I was able to stumble across and have the ability to pick and choose. And that's why I've got Jason, who's been with me 31.5 years, Chris, 26.5 years. My other guitar player retired. I mean, my drummer passed away. I mean, there's stuff that my other drummer over 2 decades now. I mean, I love the fact that we're able to find people. But guys, it takes getting to a certain place to be able to create a team that allows you to feel that comfortable wherever you are, in the office, on the stage, in the studio. So it's a little bit of a trick, but I really love today's conversation. It's triggering a lot of things, and I'm gonna go back to having coffee. I'll shut up.
Well, the bet that you're making, if you're a leader and you decide you think you need a team, what you're really betting on is the notion that if everybody is working together shoulder to shoulder with one single purpose, many hands make light work kind of stuff. But the bet you're making is that it's catalytic, that you're going to get, if I've got 5 people on my team and if I got 5 people working, that's 5 people working. If I've got 5 people on a team, I have some exponent. I have 5 times 5. I'm getting some kind of benefit, some kind of extra value, synergy, or whatever you want to call it, that's going to come from that team. And if you don't have a need for that, then don't have a team. I mean, that's when people just want a team because they think it sounds like a good idea. Maybe not so much. Now what I will say is that when we're talking about the C-suite, your chief executive officers, I personally believe that there's no option. That C-suite has to be operating as a one voice unit. Otherwise, the organization's got no clue what's actually going on.
For layman folks like us, explain C-suite.
Okay, C-suite is your chief executive officer, your chief operating officer, your chief financial officer, chief people officer. Anytime you have a C in front of your name like that, so that's the buzzword for the C-suite.
Right.
And all of these people that are really the senior leadership. Yeah.
What
senior leadership.
It's all the chiefs.
All the chiefs.
All the chiefs.
And so if those chiefs, if one chief has one message and another chief has another message and another chief has another message, then guess what? You've got a fragmented organization that's not really understanding what the heck is going on. The board of directors needs to have one voice, and the C-suite needs to have one voice, and hopefully those two are very aligned.
Right.
And if you've got sharp alignment there, and that C-suite is operating as a team, and that means that they're listening, they're as a team, they're digesting information, they're making adaptations and adjustments. So all of that stuff is going on. But when you have fragmentation at that level, it's an organizational nightmare. And one of the worst things and Farrell, I know you see this a good bit, is when you'll get hired into a situation and they'll be like, well, we don't know why everything is screwed up, but we're doing everything right. Why are we screwed up? And what you find is that the team concept has been put out there, but nobody's backing it up. And there's maybe 5 of the people on the C-suite that are really behind everything. Go team, go team. But there's one IT guy, or there's one CFO, or there's one whoever that's an outlier.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of arms crossed. And that one individual or 2 individuals not buying in, they won't say, no, I'm not buying it. They'll act like it. They'll walk.
Right.
They'll walk along.
I've had band members on stage like that in my lifetime.
It's like quiet quitting,
It is, and it's an awful feeling for everybody. And you got to just cut it. You got to say, sorry, go play on another team.
That's right.
Right.
That's
right. And I think what happens
like
when you get that one person that goes rogue or isn't participating or whatever, it fractures strategy. There's virtually no way to have a solid strategy if everybody's not on the same page. And when those things happen, then what you see is you begin to see pieces of the strategy fall apart. And sooner or later, the entire strategy falls apart. And so I think that's what's so important in understanding the communication amongst the team, and then the communication from the team to the next levels of whether it's 5 people or whether it's 5,000 people. That communication down then is vital. And I think if I look at the experience that I've had with great teams, especially those leadership teams, one of the things that they do really, really well is they let information filter to them.
That's right.
They let people come to them. It's not them pushing down on them. It's the groundswell coming up to them and they're dealing with that information as it comes up to them as a team based on what their strategy is, based on the fact that they've got a higher purpose vision that says this is the direction that we're going. And so I think that's what you see a lot of is you see with great teams, you see great communication. And I think you can look at all kinds of sports examples, whether it's football or basketball or you look at some of the great sports teams, they are so good working together. If it's a basketball team, they're so good at working together. They know exactly where somebody's going to be at any given moment to pass the ball or to defend or whatever the case may be. And that's where you see great teamwork is because the communication has been so good there. They know exactly what the others are doing. And unfortunately, you don't see that a lot, at least in my experience. You don't see that a lot in business. You
Yeah, there's not the investment in the rehearsal and the time and the practice that's required for that, and so that's the other thing where it's like, well, somehow there's just this expectation, it'll magically occur, and that begs the question, how do you make a team? And how many times have you been hired, Farrell, when you hear this from the CEO? Well, I've got 3 new people on my leadership team now, and I really want to get them to come together. I really want them to. And so, and I say, well, what you need to do is get Azar and Farrell and I in a room, and then we're gonna have a ball with those people, and it'll be amazing. But that's another story.
That's the live version. That's the live
version.
Good plug though. Good plug.
I know. Look at me doing a plug.
Yeah.
Huh?
Nice.
Huh?
Very nice.
I know.
I mean, I barely noticed. So good.
It was so exciting that we lost Farrell. He just blew up.
Oh, where'd he go?
I know.
We lost our man.
I know. I think it was because
it's funny that you and me are still able to communicate without the leader of the band. He's like the leader of technology. Interesting. Well, let's see what happens.
In my imagination, he just like shot off into the cosmos, and so
here he comes.
Here he comes back.
Let's see. Hold on. Let's see what he said. I love what y'all are talking about here. It's funny. It's so funny how, as I listen to you guys talk about sports, and I've always compared sports and music for certain reasons, but I think about that team element, and in the office, no different from the 5 people in the office have to work together like the 5 people on stage, or the 5 people in a recording studio, or the 5, the 3 to 2 people writing a song, whatever it is. It's really interesting how they are so joined at the hip and so close to each other and similar in the things that you have to do to be successful. I mean, it's almost like there's no difference. I mean, so I know, I feel like sometimes the office can be a little sterile compared to the stage with the smoke and the lights and, all the stuff that we get to experience to make us look better than we are, smoke and mirrors. But the truth is very similar in regard.
Absolutely.
Crazy.
Absolutely. Right. And so I think the first thing to underline if you want to build a team is that it begins and ends with the concept of shared experience. That having us all read something is fine. Having us all watch something is fine, but it's only going to be when we go do something and experience something. And then also I would underline that we need to run repetitions of plays or scenarios that are likely to unfold for us. So
that's called rehearsal. That's called rehearsal in our world.
Okay. Exactly. Yep. And so, yes, if we know that there are certain kinds of fraud that are out there, like ransomware, for example, should our C-suite run ransomware scenarios where we go, okay, let's test it in the same way you do a fire drill or anything else. So I think that you also want to have experience actually running repetitions for things that are likely to occur or have the potential to occur. And then I think you want to run repetitions about just getting to know each other. So I've had the great experience of working with retired Navy SEAL team officers for probably 25 plus years now. And the thing that I enjoy about them is I'll say to them, I'll ask the question, okay, so how would you, if you were going to take these group, these 7 people and they're saying, hey, I really want to get these people to come together fast and really become one. What would you do? And this was an honest answer that was given to me. Well, if it was me, I'd shave their heads and put them in a room and leave them there for a week. I said, well,
I think it's like a new and unique leadership.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know that would work at at AT&T or wherever. But it would work. They would be bonded. I can guarantee you that those people would have a story to tell.
Or
But
there'd only be two left, one of the two.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
well,
So
but I
funny.
mean, that's it. So the idea is that when you're trying to build a team, you want to create a shared experience. And that's one of the things that I think we've always enjoyed talking about, is the idea that if we could get those 5 leaders and bring them into a room and make a lasagna together,
Yeah.
that's going to be pretty good. If we set it up right and we get them in the right frame of mind and we understand the metaphor that's at work there as it relates to cooking and planning and work, whatever. And we also have fun and we get
creativity
a chance to visit.
and being able to create together. That's another level, guys.
Yeah.
Besides the sounds and the fragrances and I know I sound funny there saying that, but it's the truth. Who doesn't? The 3 of us get excited when we know the oil's hot and we're throwing the Holy Trinity on it, right? What is it?
Right.
It's like it's like you've never seen it before, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's like, wow. But the creativity to me of being a part of a creative moment together of anything that you're making from scratch, from the beginning, from the inception, you know what I mean?
Right on.
That to me allows everybody to start at the same place.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I would even take it a step further. I would say that bringing that creative experience together, but then looking at it from a standpoint of a higher purpose vision. Let's say that we bring all of that together,
Mhm.
but the real mission is to feed a group of homeless people.
Right.
Give them the most incredible experience they've ever had, or
Wow.
a group of employees, or whoever it is. But again, it's all good and well for the 3 of us to cook for 7
Right.
leaders, but now let's really put that on steroids and let's figure out that higher purpose vision. Let's say,
Mhm.
why do we do this? We're doing this for something bigger than us, bigger than the leadership team, bigger than whoever it is, and when you begin to assign that to bringing that leadership team together and being creative like that, whether it's food or anything else, even in the live experience that we talk about, Steve, where they're going to sit down and write a song with you, the higher purpose of that is that they're going to have that leadership anthem that we call it,
Mhm. Mhm.
that they can take back to their organizations and
Yeah.
share with their people. That's when we get that vision attached to that creativity. Now you create magic.
I love that. And let me can I jump a little bit off of something, but it has a lot to do, I think, with what we're talking about. You're talking about a lot of things y'all are bringing up, or it revolves too around character, someone's character. Like, so I got to
Absolutely.
give you 2 instances. So if you can find 5 people in a room that have great character, even if they're in totally different worlds and they don't make sense for your company, but maybe they have great character, it'd be amazing how that may be a better recipe for success rather than the 5 people that are supposed to fit perfectly
100%.
because
Right.
of X and O's. Okay.
Right.
So
Right.
a couple examples of character that I've seen lately that have really knocked me out. One, Seattle, they just won a Super Bowl and they take the number 2 back from Notre Dame in the first round. And everybody's going, what have you done? The general manager's on TV going, what have you done? You just won a Super Bowl. You didn't need a tailback. And da-da-da. And he goes, well, he had character, the best character we've ever seen. And we said, well, we're going to figure that out because that's the kind of person we
Right.
want on this team. Besides being extremely
Wow.
athletic and talented
Wow.
and extreme that, everybody was saying they should have taken, he should have been taken maybe a round later or whatever. But you just won the Super Bowl. You are right now the best team in the world. And you took him. Why? And he just said character. And so he goes, we know that we're going to be able to work with him. And we know he's going to work hard enough because of his character to be extremely successful. And that's what we're looking for as players on this team. And that's what we have. And it needed to match. We didn't need to bring some great, the most incredible athlete in the world that had no character. We brought a great athlete in that had all the character in the world. 2, I got to tell y'all this story, and it's worth sharing to anybody out there listening. My nephew, Nick, I hadn't been paying much attention to text messages and all this, so I didn't see it like it on surface, was with us and celebrating my mom's 90th this past weekend.
Wow.
And we're celebrating my father-in-law's 90th here. So back-to-back weeks. Anyway, such a blessing. Such great people in our lives. But Nick was at Thanksgiving this year, was driving, and he saw a blind man with a little cane walk into a car and fall and collapse.
Wow.
He stopped his car, went and got him, knew he was pretty, disoriented, put him in the car, took him home for Thanksgiving. They got him cleaned up. Not only has he taken him on as someone in a life that matters, He looked all over the country. Where do they hire folks with blind impairment, totally blind? And he found a place in St. Louis that hires the blind. He found a place that will house. He's got an apartment now. And during the day, we were in our kitchen. He called Nick 3 times to ask him about some things that he needed to do. And Nick it's like he's all in. And you're talking about character and getting to see somebody that, I mean, you know what I mean? How many people are going to take someone home at Thanksgiving
Right.
Absolutely.
that's homeless? And then that is true character to me. And that's a good Samaritan all over again. We're watching
Right.
something biblical proportions, and he hasn't let him go. He matters in his life now. We got to talk to him. He was so wonderful and gentle, and how grateful he is for Nick. And he had some things he had to deal with, and Nick was helping him. And I was going like, Nick, is this every day? He said every day, but I love it. And I love him. But I just think character, when you're talking about walking into a room, if you have one person that's lacking that element, how the
Right.
heck how can you win?
Right. We were talking about the frogmen, and they actually have a form when you go to basic underwater demolition school, BUDS, to try and become a SEAL. This is the famous place where more than 80%, usually 80 to 90% of a class will ring out and quit before it all gets done. But this notion that when they're looking at a potential candidate to be a frogman, these days it's incredible. A lot of these guys have advanced degrees. They speak multiple foreign languages. These are not just knuckle draggers out there. These are people they're being recruited very seriously for intelligence operations and God knows what. So anyway, they've got all these technical capabilities on the left-hand side of the page, including things like, are you a good shooter? Are you a good athlete? How are you as a swimmer? Are you a good runner? And so let's say you've got 5 stars, going up and down here over on the left side. And on the right is a huge block, and it says team ability. Team ability, one word, team ability. And then you get a rating there. If that rating is low, it doesn't matter how good you were on the left side of the page, you're out. You don't have the character. To your point, Azar, to be a frogman, to be a SEAL, you don't cut it at the fundamental level. Similarly, let's say you've got scores over here on the left, but you're crushing it in team ability, right? You are the guy. I want to be on this team more than anything in the world, blah, blah, blah. This is it. They'll take a chance on you there because they know they can train for all this stuff on the other side of the page. So for them, that fundamental element of character is not negotiable, and it's not something they think they can always train into you, right? This is about, do you bring it or do you not bring it? Do you have it or
it's more innate, right? It's an innate sort of
yeah, a real
I agree with
tough.
that. I agree.
Yeah.
You have a body of work your whole life that if you sort of are yourself, and if you start to lie or you start to cheat or you start to do this, it sort of follows you in everything you do, and you just sort of it's unfortunately it's maybe you can come out of it and maybe you can develop character, but man, sometimes I just think people have character their whole lives.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting because that whole idea of character, and we've talked about this on a previous podcast, but this whole idea of character is nothing more than exercising virtue.
Sure.
It's really putting the work in creating a virtuous life, a life that's well lived, as Aristotle would have called it. And character is all about how you do that. And one of the great tools, and you guys have heard me talk about that, is the values in action inventory, which actually identifies your character strengths. And it's something that I use with leadership teams all the time. Because when they begin to understand each other's character strengths, and when they begin to lean into those strengths as a team versus an individual, now you can see really, really great things happening because all of them understand. It's all good and well to know their talents, and you can find out their talents with Clifton. But when you begin to understand their character, that's a whole nother level of understanding that gives them the ability to work together and understand where their strengths are and how to utilize those strengths as a team, not only as an individual, but as a team as well.
Yeah.
So two big warnings as it relates to teams and having team culture or building team culture. See, I'm going to go back maybe 20 years on this one, but I think it's just fine. So there was a large corporation up in the Pacific Northwest that really invested heavily in an ongoing 3-year team building push. And this is a union based entity, and they were doing some changes in the way compensation was occurring. And they were folding in this team building angle along with a compensation change. And, I was a consultant along with some other I learned a lot of things. There were some pretty high-powered consultants on that team. I was the junior guy by far on that team. But anyway, I got to be there and see all the stuff that was going on. And boy, we would go in and work at one of the locations, and it would take 4 days, and we had them on an offsite, and we did whitewater rafting, and we did all this kind of stuff, and it was amazing and fantastic. But holy smokes. And at the end of the sessions, man, the what we call the smile sheets, when the participants were like, this was the best experience we've ever had. We finally got to say our piece. This was really amazing. Oh my gosh, everything was incredible. And they did this work in about 70 of the locations that they had in the Pacific Northwest. And they were planning to get to the next 30% like the next year. At the end of the first year, I went to about half of those sites and did a follow-up survey. So now it's 6 months, 7 months after this event. How's it going? And I will tell you that the bitterness and the hostility and the anger that was expressed to me in those sessions blew my mind.
Wow.
I was expecting, oh, things are yippee skippy, and look at us, we're doing all these amazing things now because management invested in this, and now here we are. No. And then I go to the places that didn't have the training, and they were fine.
Mm-hmm.
The places that had the training deeply screwed up. I mean, way screwed up. Why? Because they felt like they were promised something in that team building session that did not show up on day one. So they go, they have this, here's how management's going to be, here's how we're going to be, we all agree to this, handshake, kumbaya, aren't we fantastic? And then it's Monday and nothing has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
then
expectations, because there's expectations for those folks, and they don't get ever met.
It was the big middle
mistake.
finger to management.
Yeah,
there was not only anger, it was just like, this proves you're a lion's sack, right?
Yeah,
right.
You tried to hoodwink us with all of this.
Right.
So, and I know that program that they did was crazy expensive. I mean, a lot of money went into producing this thing that essentially shot their business in the foot.
Wow.
So the lesson to be learned there is don't bring something up unless you're willing to talk about it. Don't say you're going to do something unless you're going to do it.
Right.
You better commit to a future of like, wow, really do this and make it good. So that's warning number one. Warning number two comes from Steve Alberg, Commodore of the Navy SEAL teams there for a good bit down in Coronado, California. And he was famous for saying in a Fortune magazine article, he said, having a high performance team in your workplace is a lot like getting a tiger cub for Christmas. It's cute and cuddly the first year, and then the next year it will eat your children. And I think that's a pretty good way to say it. So if you have a high performance team, what does that look like? Sometimes called tiger teams, sometimes called skunk works. And this is how it sounds. Okay, you're in this office because we have a big problem with data security, and you're the team that's going to make it happen. You're going to fix this, and you're going to do it on the DL. I've given you, here's $200,000, and you've got 3 months, and I want you to go in. I don't even want to see you until you come back with a solution that's going to solve all of our problems. Now, go, and here's your t-shirts with a black Z on them, or something kind of ominous, that sets you apart. And so you've got your top people out there, and they're doing their thing, and and what are they doing? They're walking around. I can't tell you what I'm doing, but I need you to get me this, and I need you to get me that, and I need you to do it now, right? So they're all of a sudden taking over the culture of the organization. They see themselves as, we're all that in a bag of chips. It's, it's a little bit of what we're seeing with Homeland Security walking around. They have that same kind of attitude, that swagger. Yeah, I'm going to pepper spray you unless you give me that data. Come on, man. And so what happens when you have a high performing team that is just cut loose on an organization, bad things are detected.
Yep.
So there are ways to do it, and there are ways to do it wrong. And I guess what I would say is, if you do it wrong, you are going to pay a serious price. High performance team can deliver amazing results, but it's like taking testosterone, or it's like, jacking yourself up kind of artificially. And so you have to protect your core culture for the organization. So those are the two big
well, it all goes, to me, it's still going to come back to communication. It meets character, meets win. I just feel like you're saying a lot of things that this whole podcast today, we've talked about a lot of things. And when it lacks communication for everybody, would you say everybody has a seat at the table? When a few people don't, or one person doesn't, or 6 people don't, and even if it's 1,000 people and 1 or 2 don't, it really affects things.
Yep.
Somewhere along the line, you're going to feel the chink in the armor. And then we talk about higher purpose vision, always going back to that. If everybody's not ready, everybody's not on the same page of higher purpose vision, why are we doing this? What is our purpose? I mean, I love that. The first time I ever read that in your book, Mike, I was like, oh my gosh, that sticks with me. And so you can't say it enough in this podcast. If we say it a million times, it won't be enough, because it all goes back to that.
It does.
And I think all these other elements tie into that. And it sounds like a lot of companies lack that, or they lose that. They have it in the beginning and they lose it somewhere along the line. Maybe the people they hire or the decisions they make. Very crucial in the survival of a business, especially now, especially with where we're heading next show with AI. My favorite subject. I'm going to come off the top of the roof here in the creative side, but I know that's where we're heading next. It's the next episode, and I think it's a good way for us to say bye to everybody.
All right, perfect.
I
Way to
summed it
bring
up.
us home, Steve.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right. Well,
I slipped it in.
yeah, we've got another episode of Resonance in the books, guys. So again, you can find us on all the major platforms. You can also find us at resonanceleader.com. And there's also information there. If you ever want to bring the three of us in live, we've got a leadership experience that we can do for you, including Steve's amazing performance and the ability to actually sit down and write a leadership anthem with him. So it's really an opportunity.
I would challenge anybody to send us their worst team building experiences.
There you go.
I would love to read the horror stories that I know are out there for things that were done under the name of team building. But with that, we will see everybody next time.
All right.
Blessings.
See you, boys.
Thanks for listening to Resonance. Find us at resonanceleader.com.